I want to start by first thanking everyone for joining us here today for this momentous occasion. First, I'd like to thank several dignitaries and community members for joining us here today. We have our city council members, I believe Anthony David, the chair of the Economic Recovery Task Force is here. Thank you for being here, Anthony. We have Mayor Turner from Weehawken here. Thank you, Mayor. And several others. I want to also thank my partners in government, Senator Robert Menendez, Congressman Sears, County Executive DeGise, all City Council members, and Freeholder Romano for joining us here today. As we've seen across the board through COVID-19, it takes branches of government, and it takes all branches of government working collectively together to keep our residents safe and to provide relief to those in need. Thanks to the collaboration of this team, we'll be making an announcement today shortly that will provide an important boost to our small business local economy. Before we get to the actual details of our announcement, I want to talk a little bit about Hoboken and our response to COVID-19. As many know, Hoboken was the first city in the country to shut down bars and restaurants and one of the first to close all non-essential small businesses. At the time, we did so for the exclusive goal of protecting public health. Many questioned our decision at the time, but as we stand here today, I can say confidently that we were fortunate to do so, and our actions helped pave the way for other leaders across the state and country to make similar decisions. However, as we shut down early on, it was also not lost upon me that it would have a profound impact on our small business community, many of whom weren't sure whether they would survive the economic impact. Knowing that these closures could last for some time and our small business community would suffer devastating consequences if there wasn't help, I knew we needed a lot more than just encouraging words. The first person that I called for help was Senator Bob Menendez. We needed real assistance in the form of federal dollars to help offset the costs from both the city's end and also the substantial losses in revenue from our small businesses we knew were coming once they closed their doors. Senator Menendez did not miss a beat and was the first to stand up and say he would fight for cities like Hoboken and small businesses across the country. Thanks to his strong advocacy in the United States Senate, the CARE Act was passed into law, providing critical funding to both municipalities like Hoboken and, as he'll announce shortly, new grant funding for Hoboken small businesses. I'd like to bring Senator Menendez to the podium to announce some good news for the Hoboken small business community. Senator?
Well, good morning, and thank you, Mayor Bhalla, for hosting us today. It's good to be back in Hoboken with some excellent friends. I know that Congressman Sears was supposed to be with us, but he is in a virtual markup, a committee markup, which means they're doing business and doing amendments. So I appreciate his service and his advocacy alongside with us in the House of Representatives to make some of what we're announcing today possible. County Executive Tom DeGise, who's a great partner to have as we unfold some of these programs. Freeholder Anthony Romano, strong advocate. The council people who are here with us, appreciate them. And all who have joined today. Hoboken and Hudson County have really stepped up to serve their residents during these challenging times. And Mayor Bhalla deserves credit for steering Hoboken's ship during the worst public health and economic crisis in our lifetimes. He's shown real leadership, made some very difficult decisions, and put the health and safety of the people of Hoboken above all else. As he said, Hoboken was the first to close restaurants and bars to reduce the spread of COVID-19. And the city is among the only places offering 15-minute rapid testing for any resident who wants one. And that's huge, because we will never return to normal if we can't give people the confidence they need that it's safe to go back to work or school, to shop in our stores, or visit the town square. The only way to mitigate the risks of COVID-19 is through widespread testing and contact tracing. And here in Hoboken, they recognize just that. As a former mayor of Union City, just above on the cliffs, I understand the challenges of running a city during normal times, and these are far from normal times. And yet Mayor Bhalla, with the help of the City Council and the county executives, has seen infection rates plummet, businesses started to reopen, and the streets of Hoboken beginning to teem with life and energy we're all accustomed to seeing. Now, New Jerseyans have also made enormous personal and financial sacrifices to help flatten the curve, to prevent our health system from being overrun and get us to a better place that we are in now. But we still need folks to take necessary precautions, to wear masks, to practice social distancing. We've seen spikes in other parts of the country that were too quick to reopen or never took the prudent steps that were taken here in Hoboken and across New Jersey. And to the extent that we see a blip rising again in New Jersey, it's from those who have come from out of state and or not practice the social distancing measures that are the key to stopping the spread of the virus. So let's remain Jersey strong, stay smart, stay safe, and most importantly, let's stay ahead of the virus. Let's not erase all the progress we've made together. Now, I'm proud to be here specifically to announce that nearly $2 million from the Federal Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security, or the CARES Act, will be used to help small businesses in Hoboken reopen and recover. I'll let the mayor and the county executive detail the program, but each small business can apply for grants of up to $20,000 to help pay employees, rent, mortgages, utilities, and other expenses. This is on top of the tens of millions of dollars in federal grants and forgivable Paycheck Protection Program loans Hoboken small businesses have already received. I have sponsored bipartisan legislation that would make some 85% of all of those PPP loans automatically forgivable without the headaches and the paperwork. That's for loans up to $150,000. In Hoboken, that would cover over 1,000 small businesses and would instantly forgive nearly $37 million in PPP loans. Our small businesses are hurting. Many haven't reopened, or they haven't reopened yet at full capacity. And relieving some of the burden will only help small businesses and ultimately our economy recover. In all, Congressman Series and I have helped deliver over $117 million in CARES Act funding to Hudson County. That includes over $5.5 million to reimburse Hoboken for COVID-19 related expenses like expanded testing, plus another $500,000 in rental assistance. We've also delivered over $630,000 in community development block grants to Hoboken and another $1.2 million to Hudson County. These grants can be used to help economic recovery. Nearly $6.7 billion in economic impact payments have been sent to over 4 million New Jerseyans. And over 1 million New Jerseyans have been helped by the expanded and extended unemployment benefits, including the extra $600 per week through the end of July. So I'm proud of the work that we've done to deliver billions to New Jersey to help combat COVID-19, but we need to do more. When the Senate reconvenes next week, I expect the Republican majority to finally come to the table and work with Democrats on a fourth COVID package to address this crisis. Not only do we need to continue to help the unemployed and our small businesses get back on their feet, we also must help our state and local governments. They've been hit by a 1-2 punch of rising costs to defeat COVID-19 and falling revenues due to the economic fallout. Without help from Washington, they will have no choice but to raise taxes, cut essential services, and lay off workers. We're talking about first responders, police officers, such as the fine officers we have here from Hoboken, the Sheriff's Department, teachers, public health and sanitation workers. It would be the height of irony, and a horrible one as well, that the men and women we needed most at this critical time would be the ones fired as a result of the economic distress that the virus has created. That's why I'm leading a bipartisan effort to deliver $500 billion in flexible federal funding to our frontline communities. The State and Municipal Assistance for Recovery and Transition, or the SMART Act, would provide direct federal assistance to every state, county, and municipality in the country while targeting funding to the areas with the greatest need, based on COVID-19 infection rates and lost revenues due to the economic fallout. Because New Jersey was hit so hard, and Mayor Bhalla took early action, we estimate that Hoboken would get about $30 million from the SMART Fund alone. These flexible federal dollars can help Hoboken expand testing and contact tracing, keep our first responders and teachers on the job, continue to assist small businesses, and serve the residents. So I said from the outset way back in February that it's going to take a coordinated federal, state, and local response to defeat COVID-19. And while I expected more from the Trump administration, I can tell you that Congressman Sears and I, along with Senator Booker, haven't stopped fighting for New Jersey, for Hudson County, and for Hoboken. We've got great partners like County Executive DeGise and Mayor Bhalla. New Jerseyans are tough and resilient. We don't back down from any fight, and whatever knocks us down only makes us stronger. Together, I'm confident we'll get through this and see some brighter days ahead. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator Menendez. I was advised by my communications director that the press cannot hear me without a with my face covering, which for a sick politician is not easy to wear when you have a turban which does not strap the covering around your ears. So I struggled with that a lot when COVID started, and I even contacted our Attorney General, who's the only other sick public official, for advice. He was not very helpful. So I went into my drawer at my desk and I found a binder clip, which I used to cover. But that's been my solution, is the binder clip. But since it's difficult to hear, I'll speak without a face mask for now. Unfortunately, Congressman Sears cannot be here today. He is in Washington, D.C., voting on the reauthorization of the Water Infrastructure Act. So he sends his regards. I would like to introduce now a strong partner of Hoboken's, our own county executive, Thomas DeGise. Every step of the way during our early COVID-19 response, the county executive has been there for our city. The $1.9 million for small businesses is only possible thanks to the county's partnership in this endeavor. County Executive DeGise and his staff, including Chief of Staff Craig Guy, have gone above and beyond to provide us with the tools to administer the CARES Act. Funding, providing assistance with the application process, approving reimbursement requests, and more. So County Executive, if you wouldn't mind to come up and say a few words.
Thank you, Mayor Bhalla, and I'm pleased to be here with you today. I wanted to acknowledge Senator Menendez to my left here. The last time we were here, Senator, it was the building of this bridge, you may remember. A few years back, at the cost of somewhere around $55 million, we said it was the largest public work job that Hudson County had ever done. We've since surpassed that with a new high school and a college building, but this is one of our landmarks. The event here today, I think, is indicative of how important it is for every level of government to be working together. The federal money that Senator Menendez, my friend Congressman Albiaceres, and the rest of our team down in Washington was absolutely necessary for us to start the road out from Section 1 to Phase 2. And it also a little bit of a tip of the hat for our governor, who hung tough when other governors were crashing around, coming back a little bit too soon. Our governor made us the map that you see at night on CNN with the three blues along the Atlantic coast are Connecticut, New York, and New Jersey, and we couldn't be prouder than that. As far as Hoboken, when we received the $1.7 million from the federal government to the governor, then to us, we polled each of the mayors of the 12 mayors of our town to try to find out where that money could be best used. And the thing that came up first was a reimbursement of the expenses that we all incurred when the virus was so heavy to us. So that was number one. Number two was the small business loan that we're celebrating here or introducing here today. So many of our towns are marked by a distinctive types of neighborhoods, the small businesses. I'm up in the Jersey City Heights, new restaurants popping up, all of that, and most of them were doing just fine until the virus hit. Now they're struggling and in need of some help. The mayors, the 12 mayors, asked us if we would work together with those small businesses that so much make up the character of our towns, we would do it. Next week or the week after, we'll put a third program out there for rental assistance to try to prevent evictions and for landlords to get their rent paid. We'll be bringing that in. And this will get us from one station to the next. But we're going to need more. We're going to need more help. Mayor Bhalla and his group have been super cooperative, and they have plenty of uses for the $1.9 million that they'll be getting. So it's our pleasure, to work on this. We pray for each other's health. We try to help each other, wearing masks. I noticed when I arrived here today that every person at this assembly right now is wearing a mask, other than me, and it'll go right back on. So again, this is a next step for Hudson County to come out and start to assume the character and the ambiance that we love. Thanks for having me here today.
Thank you, County Executive. Before I begin my remarks, I just want to introduce somebody very special to the Hoboken community, one of our unsung heroes. His name is Dr. Gaurang Brahmbhatt. Thank you, Doctor, for your continued service to our community and for testing over 5,000 Hoboken residents and employees. I would be remiss if I also didn't thank the Hoboken Health Department, led by Director Leo Pellegrini, for working with Dr. Brahmbhatt and ensuring Hoboken has the best contact tracing in the entire state. And with that, I'd like to bring to the podium Dr. Brahmbhatt, if he's here.
Hi, good afternoon, good morning, everybody. So thank you, Mayor Bhalla. Thank you, Senator Menendez. Thanks for welcoming Riverside Medical Group here. I'm really excited to be here today. I think the announcements today are very reassuring for us as healthcare workers who've been working relentlessly since the early days of the pandemic. Riverside Medical Group as a whole, we've tested over 21,000 patients in New Jersey and continuing to do so. I think this week we set records on the number of testing that we've done. And we are dedicated to continue doing that, especially for the town of Hoboken. Like the mayor mentioned, we've tested over 5,000 patients here in town and are continuously doing that with a very close network, teamwork that we have along with the town and the mayor's team and the the Hoboken Department of Health's team as well. So we're truly excited to be here. I just really cannot express as much as our numbers have gone down in New Jersey, and we're doing a phenomenal job thanks to the leadership throughout the state. It's not over, and we can't let our guard down now, and testing has to continue. Contact tracing has to continue. We have to really set an example for the rest of the country, and I'm really proud to be a part of the team that is working in Hudson County and northern New Jersey to really lead that. So I think the announcements made today are really reassuring to us as healthcare workers that we're going to have the support to continue doing what we need to do for our communities, especially Hoboken and all the surrounding communities that we serve. So I want to thank you for having me here today, and really just wanted to get that message out. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Brahmbhatt. Now, before we get into some of the details of the small business grants, I first want to mention how critical the CARES funding is for our city's response to COVID-19. Early on, we knew that one of the keys to keeping our city safe was continued COVID-19 testing and contact tracing. Thanks to our partnership with Riverside Medical, we've ensured that Hoboken residents have easy and convenient access to testing, no matter if someone has insurance or not. Put simply, the CARES Act funding allows every uninsured resident and every resident who has insurance that doesn't cover the test to receive one. Additionally, the funding through the CARES Act has allowed us to feed our seniors, disinfect public buildings, increase funding for our health office for contact tracing, and more. This is especially significant as Hoboken itself, due to the dramatic loss in revenue due to COVID-19, would not have been able to otherwise afford to fund these expenses. At the same time, we've taken every step possible to keep our residents safe. We've also been at the forefront of assisting our small businesses through gradual reopening. Hoboken was one of the first cities in New Jersey to pass a comprehensive ordinance with the support of the City Council to facilitate expanded outdoor dining with streeteries. And I'll tell you, I didn't know streeteries was even a word. My wife asked me, I had to check, but it is an urban planning term. So with streeteries, parklets, outdoor cafes, and more. On the first day Governor Murphy allowed outdoor dining, our restaurants had approval to begin expanding outdoor cafes, with a notable example of Anthony Pino and his parklet being the first in Hoboken's Anthony David's. Today, I'm glad to share that Hoboken has 50 parklets and streeteries providing hundreds of seats of outdoor dining. We also created an economic recovery task force to assist Hoboken's COVID-19 response, facilitated the use of our parks and fields for fitness clubs, expanded free testing to every single Hoboken employee, created summer streets with the Hoboken Business Alliance to facilitate even more outdoor space for dining while closing streets and more. But nonetheless, many of our businesses are understandably struggling with a loss of revenue and reduced customers even during the reopening period. Low interest loans are certainly helpful, but they only get you so far. What our businesses need are grants that don't need to be repaid. And that's exactly what the CARES Act is facilitating today. Senator Menendez gave an overview, but to reiterate, 1.9 of the federal CARES Act funding out of the $8 million allocated for Hoboken will be placed into funds administered by both the county and the city of Hoboken. Every Hoboken-based small business that has no more than 25 employees, any business with no more than 25 employees will be eligible for funding of up to $20,000 that can be used for COVID-related expenses, including salaries for employees, mortgage payments, loan payments, utility payments, and more. Interested small businesses can review eligibility and apply directly for funds by visiting hobokennj.gov/small business. It's designed to be simple, easy to apply, and quick to turn around for funding, with awards granted to small businesses by September. Now, we fully recognize that many of our small businesses have a lot more than $20,000 in losses during the pandemic, which is not lost upon us sitting here today. It's a first and necessary step to inject much-needed funding into the pockets of our hardworking small business owners at a time when they need it most. What is clear is that while the CARES Act is very helpful in assisting and offsetting expenses for cities like Hoboken, more needs to be done at the federal level. That's why I'm proud and grateful that Senator Menendez has introduced bipartisan legislation with Republican Senator Bill Cassidy that provides direct funding to states and municipalities to make up for the loss of revenue incurred during the pandemic. And unlike the federal government, cities need to pass balanced budgets without carrying a deficit. And Hoboken has seen a multi-million-dollar loss in revenue during COVID-19. The expenses through the CARES Act pay for expenses related to COVID-19, but not the revenue loss, which is a major hit over the past 4 months and counting for the city of Hoboken. And I'm hopeful that Senator Menendez's bill will be signed into law in order to provide cities like Hoboken that much-needed financial relief. I'm also hopeful that the next stimulus bill through Congress includes further assistance for some of our hardest-hit small businesses, including restaurants and fitness clubs, which haven't been able to open up out indoors. I know that Senator Menendez, Congressman Series, and our federal officials will continue to have the backs of our small businesses, which make up the backbone of our local economy. I also want to take a moment now to introduce our freeholder, Anthony Romano, to say a few brief words. In addition to being our Hudson County freeholder, Anthony is also a small business owner here in Hoboken. Freeholder, would you mind coming up and saying a few words?
Good morning, all. Thank you, Mayor Bhalla. Again, I think this emphasizes what happens when the different levels of government work together for the common good of the people. Senator Menendez has always tirelessly, for over 30 years, represented this district and especially this county in a special way. He never forgot where he came from. Working together also with Mayor Bhalla and the City Council, I have the honor and privilege of working with a county executive that cares about people, that lives with us, and that understands our needs, with my fellow colleagues on the Board of Freeholders. And I think as a small business owner, this is much needed. We have been devastated by this pandemic, and honestly, if we don't work together, we're not going to get through this, because this is not the end. The precautions taken by the governor and the mayor here have shown that that's the way to go. So hopefully, by all the things that we are all doing and being together, we can continue to grow and succeed economically. We need this to get started as soon as possible. So thank you, Senator, Mayor, and Tom DeGise for for working together. They put everything aside, and that's the most important thing, collaborative government, to get what we need to do, govern and help our people and our residents. Thank you all, and to the first line responders, our sheriffs, our police, our municipal workers. God bless you for the work you do, and keep up the great work. Thank you.
Thank you, Freeholder Romano. Now I'd like to introduce some small business owners here in Hoboken who have represented the best of our city. But behind us, right behind us, literally, is a small business called Boy Cafe that just opened in January of this year. I remember just a few feet away cutting the ribbon this past January to celebrate the grand opening of Boy Cafe, Little City Books, and Park and Bloom, 3 businesses in the complex behind us. All 3 business owners saw the opportunity to expand their existing Hoboken businesses into our thriving North End. After a successful opening, however, and very unfortunately, just a few short months later, the COVID-19 pandemic hit us. The owners of Boy are here with us today to share their story. Tats, Dale, and Evan, based here in Hoboken, own a total of 3 businesses in Hoboken and 1 in Jersey City. The 2 Boy Cafe locations and 7 Valleys restaurant in Hoboken, on Washington Street. If you want Persian food and you want the best Persian food in New Jersey, go to 7 Valleys at 926 Washington, I believe. We go there so much that I think I've memorized the address by now. Their 2 cafes in Hoboken are certified green businesses. The owners give back to a number of charities here in Hoboken, and Tats currently serves on the Economic Recovery Task Force with other small business owners, helping guide the city's response. I know Tats and other small business owners will take full advantage of this grand opportunity, and I'd like to ask Tats Maury Rian, Dale Maury Rian, and Evan Rian Orion, forgive me, to come up and say a few words on behalf of the Hoboken business community. Yeah, Evan, you want to come up?
Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon now. Thank you so much for having us here today. My name is Dale Maury Ryan. I'm here with my husband, Tatsuaki Maury Ryan, and my brother, my mother, my father, and our 2 kids somewhere. My brother and I were raised in Hoboken. Evan, my brother, was actually born in Hoboken Hospital here. Between the 2 of us, we've attended All Saints Day School, Calabro, the Mustard Seed School, and Hudson School. This is where we currently live and where we're raising our children. We own and operate a family of small businesses alongside a team of incredible managers and staff, which we call the Boy family. Currently, we have 3 Boy locations and 1 7 Valleys Persian restaurant. As you all know, this COVID-19 global pandemic has brought with it extremely difficult challenges. Of course, the devastating counts of lost lives and the impact of the health of communities around the world. Today, we're here to share a little bit of the challenges we face as small business owners here in Hoboken. We believe that small businesses are the lifelines of cities. They bring character, they bring flavor, they share, and they build a community. They are the mirrors that reflect the neighborhood's needs. This is what we have kept in our hearts and minds as we've grown since opening our first coffee shop in 2013. Boy Cafe means to drink coffee in Haitian Creole, and our mission from the get-go has been to celebrate and support our communities and other communities in other parts of the world through our nonprofit Love for Haiti. And this is by selling coffee and food in the local communities that we reside. In this way, from a financial standpoint, we are able to do our part in keeping the local economy thriving, employing members of our own community, offering goods from a variety of other small businesses, and growing a small business with a triple bottom line concept. In January 2020, we opened our North End location, located behind me, with our biggest venture to date. We spent a year building it out and in collaboration with two other women-owned local businesses, Little City Books and Park and Bloom Florals. I'm not gonna hand this over.
Due to COVID-19, we did make the very difficult decision to suspend all services and to close the doors to this and all our coffee shop locations at the end of March. As a coffee shop, our model is based on high volume, low ticket item sales, which simply wasn't transferable to the unpredictable setting that COVID-19 was creating. Between updating ourselves on the evolving facts of this virus, anxious employees, and the self-inflicting pressure of doing what was socially responsible for the community's well-being, we made that difficult decision to close and to strategize a new game plan. We applied for our PPP loans through the CARES Act as soon as we could, and while we were anxiously waiting to hear back, we worked hard to pivot our business models to reimagine the community's needs and how we could best be of service. We started branding and bottling cold brew and other drinks. We created an online marketplace. We branded and began roasting our own coffee beans and set ourselves up with online delivery platforms to begin coffee and food deliveries. When the PPP loans came in, it was certainly a weight lifted off our shoulders. We were immediately able to contact our managers and staff, reach out to team members to invite them back on the schedule. We figured out a game plan that kept everyone inside at a distance from each other and in a way that everyone felt was as safe as possible. Of course, everyone wears masks and gloves within our new policies in the store, but we also check and log our temperature every morning, and we have our point of sale set up at the door so that we still do not have guests entering into the shop. We've had to purchase outdoor furniture, floor decals indicating 6-foot spacings while lining up, outdoor menu signs, and several general startup costs. We've been reopened for 2.5 months now, and we're operating across all businesses between 35 to 45% of normal pre-COVID revenue. The CARES Act was certainly a lifeline for small businesses like us to be able to restart, employ, and do what we're passionate about, and that's serving our communities. But we are still struggling. We're thrilled to hear that Hoboken was awarded an additional $2 million to help small businesses survive through this time, and we will certainly be applying for this grant to offset some of the costs. To all the small businesses out there, we feel for you and understand the struggles. Please feel free to reach out to us as individuals or as businesses just to share ideas, thoughts, or your stories. Of course, this pandemic has been anything but disruptive and hurtful to many. In many ways, it has been so humbling. It has also brought us a unique opportunity to reimagine and reframe what it means to be a business. We believe that now more than ever is the time to act on compassion, creativity, and courage. To reach out to friends and families a lot, connect with people in whatever ways we can, and as we move through this pandemic and other crises, always ask ourselves, what are we learning in these moments, and how can we act to move forward towards a better world built on respect, inclusiveness, and justice? We'd like to thank Senator Menendez, the County Executive, Mayor Bhalla, and everyone working on the ground hard to support small businesses like us. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Last but certainly not least, I want to recognize the incredible work done by some of our community leaders including our council president, Jen Giattino, and Councilman Phil Cohen, in organizing what's called the Hoboken Relief Fund. Over the last 3 months, Council President Giattino and Councilman Cohen and the entire board and volunteers making up the Relief Fund organized a series of fundraisers to also benefit our Hoboken small businesses. Thanks to their tireless efforts, the fund has raised over $350,000, which will be distributed directly to small businesses. Combined with the CARES Act funding, small businesses have a total of $2.25 million in grants available to them. Congratulations on their hard work. Let's give the Hoboken Relief Fund board members a round of applause. And finally, before we open it up to questions and answers, I want to remind the Hoboken public to avoid social gatherings and any instances where social distancing is not possible. I was informed by the Hoboken Health Department last night of 6 new cases of COVID-19 here in the city of Hoboken. All 6 of these cases were traced back to social gatherings both in Hoboken and in other parts of the state of New Jersey. Some of these residents came back from these gatherings and showed symptoms, and some heeded our call to get proactively tested. None of these 6 cases were related to travel outside of the state of New Jersey's quarantine list, and none of them, fortunately, are in serious condition or hospitalized. However, given this information, we've been urging residents over the past several weeks, please don't place yourself in harm's way and attend social gatherings if it's not necessary. It's just not worth getting infected and then infecting a parent or grandparent who could be at risk. If you're going to interact with others, please do so in smaller gatherings. Please try to do so outside. Please try to wear a face mask if you cannot keep 6 feet distance and social distance. Once again, I want to thank our Hoboken Health Department as well as Dr. Brahmbhatt for helping with conducting quick contact tracing and identifying this most recent trend that just started last night. Combined with a 15-minute rapid result test that you can get right over there a few feet away from me, along with diligent follow-up by our Hoboken Health Department, these individuals were helped in getting quarantined, and this just goes to show how critical the importance is of continued funding for our testing centers and our health department. Had we not had efficient contact tracing or 15-minute rapid result tests through this testing center here, we may not have been able to identify this trend with the people until more people were actually infected. So thank you very much, and with that, we'll take any questions for the senator, the county executive, the freeholder, or anyone else, or our business owners to my right.
The question was about our Hudson County Community College and what they are preparing to do when the school year opens. Right, I met with the president about the last time last week, and quite frankly, they're not sure what they are going to be doing. They will have some kind of programs there, but they're hoping that in the next 6 weeks before the opening, that there is a lessening in the crisis that will allow them to do a little bit more. But right now, like every other educational entity probably in the country, they're waiting and seeing a little bit and making some preparations either for virtual classes or a way of bringing some of the people in, the kids in, to have a teacher in front of them, or some kind of combination of the both. Okay?
We'll go to. With respect to Hoboken, the superintendent of schools, Dr. Christine Johnson, is working collaboratively with all the other charter schools, the public school districts, to develop a plan. There are some similarities and some differences between the facilities and other operations of each of the school districts, but they are working very actively and collaboratively, and we hope to see a plan from these school districts in the near future.
So the question is whether the bipartisan legislation, the SMART Fund, that I have with Senator Cassidy, also Senator Collins of Maine, also the senator from Mississippi, Senator Hyde Smith, so there are at least 3 Republicans on it and 3 Democrats, and there would be more, except that we are limiting, as we often do, to balance out on each side. The answer in my mind is yes. As we return to the Senate next week, there's already discussions about a new COVID round of assistance. For me, that package has to have more money for testing and contact tracing. That is the essence of how we reopen our society safely. Until I can convince people that they are safe to go to the Way, store, to the public square, to a restaurant or anything else, we will never have enough federal money, and we will never have the consumer confidence that is necessary to restart the economy. That has to come with people knowing that the risk of them contracting the virus has been dramatically mitigated, in addition to our efforts on a vaccine and antivirals. The second thing that has to happen is we have to have funds for states, counties, and local governments. They cannot sustain the consequences of the COVID-19 responses that have taken a toll economically. And it would be the greatest irony in the world that those who helped us get through the pandemic, and still we are in the midst of the first wave, police, paramedics, firefighters, nurses who are in public institutions would be laid off because we don't have the resources to pay them. So yes, there will be, I am convinced, because it will not pass the House, and it certainly will not get Democratic support unless there is assistance to state and local governments. Now, we believe that we have fashioned a bipartisan piece of legislation that is fair and appropriate. Of the $500 billion, a third goes to the states by populations, with about 45% set aside for counties and municipalities. A third of the $500 billion goes based on infection rates, so we believe those who were hurt the most and ultimately should have a significant additional resource. And a third goes to states based upon revenue losses. Those who took on the responsibility for the social distancing and other measures that created revenue losses should receive those consequences. So when I have Republican senators from Louisiana, Mississippi, and Maine, I think it's a pretty good cross-section with a pretty good possibility. Any other questions for me so we don't have to, yes? Well, first of all, this is the most xenophobic administration I have ever dealt with in all my years in Congress. And international students are both an incredible resource to our colleges and universities. They're also one of the greatest efforts to promote democracy in the world. When students come here to the United States and learn at Stevens Institute of Technology, at Rutgers University, at Princeton, and all our other great schools, they not only get an education, they understand the American way of life. It enriches them, and they become advocates when they go back to their countries. So it's not just about revenue or educational opportunity, it's also in the national interest of the United States. So I'm glad to see, not that I will applaud it because it should have never been an issue, that the administration has rescinded its decision to bar international students because there may not be a physical presence at a school. But the reality is this is incredibly important, and we will be vigilant so that if the administration chooses to do it again, I'm very happy to see that 17 states and a whole host of universities were ready to take the administration to court. I think that they recognized they would lose, and so therefore they rescinded yesterday their decision. Okay, I'll do it on the side with you. Okay. Anyone else for me? Yes. Yeah, I don't believe that anyone is going to support defunding the police. There is a difference between using resources to augment. You know, police officers are asked to do all types of incredible things, right? Not only to protect us, but they go to a domestic violence issue, and they go to a domestic issue, and they have to be the intermediary. They respond when someone who is mentally ill. There are better ways of creating community response than having them do those very difficult jobs. But we still need our police department, and overwhelmingly I believe they do a great job. Having said that, when you give anybody the authority of life and death, you have to send clear parameters as to what you can and cannot do, what is and is not acceptable. And in essence, that's what we are in the midst of trying to do. But I think those who suggest defunding do not have the support in the United States. There's a difference between legislation that I am sponsoring with Senator Booker and others to create clear rules of engagement so that we don't lose a life unnecessarily versus defunding the police. Well, you know, I have always been, for years, going back to when I was in the state legislature, and Liberty State Park was under threat to take a huge swath of the park for other purposes other than open space. I led the charge then with my colleague Bernie Kenny of Hoboken to stop that. I believe that in the most densely populated county in the state and probably in many parts of the nation, that open space is critical to the well-being of families. And so anything that we can do to continue to preserve that open space, we should do. Now, I appreciate that Mr. Fireman and the Liberty Golf Club took contaminated sites that weren't being used by anybody and turned them into something that has a value. And so the balance has to be for the open space that is critical in such an urban area. But when we can convert contaminated lands into something that's valuable, that's something that should be applauded as well. Anyone else for me? If not, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Yeah, the process by which the funds will be distributed will be a partnership between the county and the city, and the parameters are not are not complex. You can go to the website that I had referenced, HobokenNJ.gov / small business recovery. I believe that was the site. We can get it to you. And you need to have 25 or fewer employees, and you're eligible for up to $20,000 in funds. We also have the Hoboken Relief Fund. They also have developed an application process which is geared towards small businesses in that category. Basically the Main Street mom and pop stores that form the backbone of Hoboken's local economy, which I will say is struggling. I hear it myself every day from small business owners, and we do everything we can within our power. This is an area of great partnership between the City Council and my office, where we created one of the first ordinances in New Jersey to allow, if you look to our left, those people working out, that's from a fitness club. That's from a fitness gym where you're not allowed to work out indoors, but we've said we have real estate. We can make our real estate open at your disposal so you can continue your business, not indoors, but outdoors. So you have a fitness establishment that is open and can generate revenue by municipalities and the county using outdoor space. And the same goes for streeteries, parklets, open streets. So we've done everything we can to make municipal resources, municipal assets, sidewalks, streets, roads available to expand revenue and volume for Hoboken small businesses. If there are no other questions, I would just like to just once again thank Senator Menendez as well as Congressman Sears, County Executive Tom DeGise, Freeholder Romano, Council President Giattino, the entire City Council for all working together, as was stated, at every level of government to make this happen. We couldn't have done it without you, and we look forward to a continued partnership in the future. Thank you very much.